What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Ryan Meyer's Expeditions. Today we've got something new for you. It's my top 5 stone shots of all time. For those of you who don't know, a stone shot is when you kill your fish on impact. Now, not only does that ensure that you land your fish, but it makes for some pretty epic video. Let's get started with number 5. Number 5. Golden Grouper. Number 5 takes us all the way back to 2016, my first World Championship in Syros, Greece. Now, this World Championship was kind of insane because it was gonna happen like below 150 feet. There was a lot of stuff I had to learn to be able to compete with some of the best in the world in one of the deepest World Championships that's ever happened. This stone shot makes the top 5 because there were multiple things that I had to master before this could even come close to occurring. The first of these is my adaptation to depth. Now, I had to be able to dive really deep to be able to comfortably hunt at 150 feet. It took years and years of practice of dives beyond 200 feet to really get that internal flexibility to be able to do a dive like this. The second factor was the variable weight system. Now, this variable weight system is basically just I'm holding a lead weight or a ballast weight and it's taking me to the bottom, and then when I get down there, I'm leaving it, I'm hunting around, and then I'm swimming back up without it. Now, that does a couple of things, but one of the big things is it gives me like a free ride down and a free ride back up. And then when I come to the surface and I get close, if a blackout did occur, I'm much more likely to float to the surface because I've got a lot less weight on my actual body. Now, that added layer of safety was so important because of the next skill that I had to learn, which is the aguado technique. The aguado technique is a dynamic ambush. Basically, instead of sitting on the bottom and sitting still and waiting for my fish to come to me, I'm crawling across the bottom, gun ready to shoot and ready to fire at any second as soon as I see my fish. Now, that's so important for the Mediterranean because those fish have been hunted for thousands of years. And because of that, they're known, they see you coming from above. And as soon as they see anything dropping down, they scatter. But if you're on the actual bottom and then you're crawling over to them, they're less afraid of you and you've got a much better chance of getting that shot off. I had to master those 3 skills to have any kind of chance at pulling a dive off like this. And this was my first tournament legal grouper for the World Championship. And I was so thrilled to stone it because it meant I didn't have to go back to the bottom and try and extract it at 150 feet. And it meant that I was starting to acquire those skills that I would need to compete against the best in the world. This would turn out to be one of my deepest successful dives of all time and set me up to be able to hunt at 185 feet in the World Championship and then land my deepest fish of all time. This next fish made the list not only because of the incredible location, but because of how well I anticipated his movement. Number 4, Yellowfin Grouper. So this reef is outside one of my most favorite islands in the Bahamas, Rum Cay. And it's so special because it's got this wall that goes all the way around it, and that wall just drops off into nothing. I've seen all the typical reef species here, but I've also seen the unbelievable pelagics just swimming past. Wahoo, mahi-mahi, and giant tunas just cruising along the edge of this wall. It's a perfect combination of reef and blue water. At this point in my diving career, I was really just starting to get comfortable at those deeper depths, comfortable 100 feet by myself out here in Rum Cay, and I was really learning how to use fish behavior to my advantage for the first time. Yellowfin grouper are my favorite fish in the Bahamas to hunt. I still hold the world record, and at one time, me and my girlfriend Sam both held it together. It's one of my favorite eating fish, and it's also one of the smarter fish we find in the Bahamas. While a black grouper will usually just duck into the nearest hole, you can go down, you can put an easy shot in him. The yellowfin grouper, a lot of times you catch them out in the open, you've got to outsmart them. They're just a smarter, more fun, more challenging fish to hunt. As I approached this one, he swam just out of range. but I took a guess and I was able to anticipate which direction he was gonna go and where he was gonna pop out behind that rock, and I was able to line up a shot, shoot in front of him, and get a beautiful stone shot on another trophy Yellowfin Grouper. Number 3 makes the list simply for how epic this footage came out. Number 3, giant Trevally. We were in one of the most remote locations I had ever been, hunting some of the most powerful fish in the world, the Dogtooth Tuna and the giant Trevally. It was my first taste hunting the Dogtooth Tuna, and we were there off a tiny sandbar, off a tiny island, off the east coast of Africa. So most of our hunting on Latham Island with Extreme Blue Water Safaris was located on this one ledge. Now this ledge was unbelievable and came from 70 meters straight up to 40 meters and then tapered off all the way up to maybe 20 meters. The current there would cruise at like 4 knots and we would have to drift into that ledge, perpendicular with it, and time our dive to kind of land in this sweet spot in that 30-meter zone. And when you landed there, when you timed it right, when everything worked out, it was magic and you never knew what you were gonna see down there. On this particular dive, I got down there into that sweet spot and was surrounded by a school of hammerhead sharks. Right out of the school of hammerheads came this massive giant Trevally, and I could not help myself. I put a beautiful stone shot right between the eyes and landed a beautiful, beautiful fish. And this fish was off to the locals to feed the village. This next fish takes number 2, not only because it was my biggest black grouper at the time, but also because kind of the unique situation that it was in. Number 2, black grouper. I was in the Bahamas and I had heard stories of this big barren stretch of reef that held these small little cracks loaded with life. The technique would be to tow behind the dinghy for as long as it took to find these. We made the 20-mile dinghy run and we towed for hours before we just happened upon this unbelievable crack. It was filled completely with black grouper, giant hogfish, and huge gabaras. I knew that I really wanted to get multiple fish out of this spot, and if we blew it up with a bad shot, it would completely ruin that. I placed a perfect stone shot in this giant black grouper and was able to extract him without disturbing the spot, the other fish, or even the shark that was sleeping right next to him. My buddy Paul landed another monster out of the spot, and then we left it alone for another day. And finally, this Dogtooth Tuna takes the number 1 spot because without a stone shot, there was no way I was gonna land this fish. Number 1, Dogtooth Tuna. At the end of a really crazy 2-month journey, me and Sam found ourselves in Fiji. Now we kept hearing about this mythical island where the village survived exclusively based on spearfishing. After days of ferry rides, bus rides, and trips on these little pongas, we found ourselves in one of the most off-the-grid locations we've ever been. On our first day on the island, the boys took us to a spot they knew that was about 20 miles away, and it was this ledge that was just loaded with life. There were a ton of doggies there, but I was really struggling to land any. The sharks were relentless, and the powerful fish were just putting me straight into the reef where the sharks would then eat them. After I lost one of these, I had a shaft that was tangled up in the rocks, and because they just ate up one of these 50-pound fish, there was chum all in the water and everything else from the surrounding area was coming in to check it out. I grabbed a small gun from Sam, and I was just on my way to the bottom to kind of extract that last shaft that I lost from the reef. When I was down there, these giant Trevally came out of nowhere and swam right up to me. Now, I have to admit, I thought about shooting him, and I'm so glad I didn't, because right behind him came the biggest Dogtooth Tuna that I had ever seen. I placed a perfect stone shot, watched this doggy roll over, and was able to grab him right there and take him to the surface where I could hear like half the village screaming in excitement. This was an incredible way to start out this trip with this village and be able to take it back and share it with the whole entire village. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, let me know in the comments down below. We've got a lot more coming for you, so make sure you're subscribed, smash that like button, and we'll see you next time on Ryan Meyer's Expeditions.